Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petralis, and we are super excited. We are at episode 190. The goal in 2023, I tell the story. We actually have like record of it because it was recorded audio and in video. So I was on a podcast, 100th episode, and they asked me what one of my biggest goals was, and I said, I want to get to episode 200 by July of 2025. That was my big goal. So we're a little bit behind pace because I run camp and it's end of the school year, and so I kind of dropped the ball a little bit. But we're hustling to get to 200. That's the goal, and 190 is like one of those milestones. Anything that ends in a zero is a milestone, and this is a
Hmm.
great guest to have on here today. I had one of these guests on recently in the last like 10 or 15 episodes. And the reason I brought her back is because of her success. We talked at the very beginning of the season. We covered a game early on, and coach's team kind of lived up to the billing, and she hyped them up, and she talked it and she backed it, and the team was very successful. And here we have a player right now, GBL MVP, a player who had a very great season. Last couple seasons, we'll dive into that, have been phenomenal. And obviously, she's only a junior, so she's got another season of wreaking havoc on goaltenders in the GBL, and it should be fun to watch. But you see them on our screen here. We have Coach Passacantilli, Bianca Passacantilli, and Becky Casey. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
having
much for having us.
Yeah, it's cool. Coach, it's great to have you back on here because
us.
one of my favorite things is when like someone talks it and then they walk it, right? And so when we talked at the beginning of your season on this podcast, you really were high on your team. You felt that your team had, at the end of the season, you were playing well, you were competing for the playoffs, you were bringing back a lot, you had a couple really good players, but you had a tough team. And you guys had an 18 win season this year. We caught the very beginning, we caught the very first one, a tight game, one of your closer games of the year because you guys really kind of, blew the doors off of some teams a little bit. But I mean, talk about your season, coach. I mean, kind of cool, a lot of cool stuff kind of came with it, and we'll dive into all that. But talk about this season a little bit and living up to the billing.
Yeah. I mean, I said this at our banquet, but I remember like I had the whole schedule laid out on my kitchen table, and I was like, we could legit go 14-0. But then I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, we got to set some realistic goals. It did happen. We did actually go. We won our first 14 games and had a 14-0 record. And it was like after every game, and I feel like before like certain games, like before we played Stone the first time, before we played AC, we were like, we need to try and keep up this streak going. And the fact that we did, like, I said it to everyone, I was like, I feel like I'm just like kind of going through the motions. It feels kind of fake right now. It feels like a dream. Like, it didn't truly feel real, I think, until we finally like got our first loss and we were like, wait, hold on. Look at everything else we did. Like, I think it's so easy for us, for all of us, we all were like, we lost. We lost a game. But I was like, okay, but hold on. We just won 14. At that point, we were on our way to being undefeated in the GBL. We were undefeated at home. Like, there was so much more to look at. And I thought that was something that we really had to focus on more towards the end of the season with we had two losses back to back. And then that last week, we got right back at it, played at home, and hit our milestone goals for some girls. And it was looking back, it was such a crazy season, but I loved every step of the way. And I think they had so much fun too. Like, it was crazy to make all the posts and be like, all right, another win. Like, social media, I didn't go to school for that. So I would be like after work playing
I
on
get
Canva,
it.
trying to figure out how to make a post. And I knew work would be busy and then coaching would be busy. So I made all of them before all the games. I had them already ready. So on the bus ride home, I could just fill in like with a picture and the stats. But that was definitely more learning for me this year was with the Instagram. Because last year it was like, yeah, I posted here and there. And then this year I was like making sure all the posts were there. And I mean, the amount of people that were seeing everything and sharing it.
It's
So
cool. I mean,
it
it's
was
cool. And I think that adds to any sport. You work really hard. It's the behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people don't see or a lot of people don't understand. And that team building that, you know, that culture that you have behind closed doors. And, when you are posting things, people not only that are there at the game see that, but people that are following the program. And like you mentioned, once that train starts chugging, people are hopping on left and right. So that stuff then starts getting out there and really blasting out there more. Becky, I'm going to kind of ask you a mature question here because your coach mentioned something, and I'm as a coach, former athlete, way, way, way back in my day, right? But those your team losing those two games. I remember when I coached, we had a year that we won the Super Bowl. Our biggest game was against a team that we could have potentially seen in the Super Bowl later that year, and they like beat us 49-7, and that humbled us, and it made us realize we weren't as good as we thought we were, or in our case, we just had to work harder. Talk about those losses. You're a leader on this team. You score a lot of goals. We're going to get into that. But talk about being a leader in that team and helping guide your team maybe over that road bump a little bit, and getting you guys back on track before playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sucks losing back to back on a Friday night and a Saturday morning. But it was definitely a learning experience for all of us. And our first loss was Stoneham, and it was on their senior night, and we won. Might have been 3 weeks before that against them, so we knew it was going to be a very tight game. Um, but we sort of like it was a very hot day too, and we all kind of knew that it wasn't kind of falling into our hands. And like I said, it definitely sucked, but it was like Stoneham. It's not like we just like lost like the state tournament. Like it was one game. And we sort of knew the next morning we had a might have been like a 10 a.m. bus ride down to Framingham, and
Oof,
we
yeah.
sort of knew that Framingham was also going to be really tough, and that was one of our longest weeks. I think we had our senior night before the Stoneham game, and we had a game might have been Tuesday night, so we were definitely like losing some of our gas, but we sort of just like did our best to like stick together and play as a team and did the best that we could. And we lost, ended up losing to Framingham, but we didn't lose by that much. It might have been
5.
5 goals. Yeah, that sounds right. And a lot of us are kind of expecting to get blown out of the water, but I think the first quarter we went down like 2 goals in the first like 2 minutes, and we're like, oh God, like this is gonna be an interesting game. But we held our ground, and we like stuck together, and we did whatever we could to stay in that game. And it was a lot of fun just to have like a competitive game to play in, because GBL isn't the best in the state, and we all know that. But it was fun playing against some girls who definitely had us on our toes.
Yeah, and I think that's great. That obviously builds character. You find out a little bit more about your team than you would typically know about them playing maybe a lesser opponent. That's great. But let's stay on you. Let's talk about your game a little bit for people that are listening. These numbers are real. This isn't like playing a video game rookie mode where you can just like run up the stats here. This is like pretty legit. So we'll go backwards the season before. Okay, so the season before this, I think you guys were about like an 8-11, 8-12 squad. I forget what Coach kind of said right before off here. I think that's what you said. But regardless, that year you scored 110 goals in your season. So like 20, 19 game season. So I'll say 20 games just for math. I mean, I'm doing that off the top of my head. That's like averaging 5 goals, maybe 6 goals a game here and there. But I mean, that's pretty consistent. You're scoring 5, 6 goals for your team every game. In theory, like that's incredible. And then this year, 92 goals, GBL MVP, obviously All-Star as well. I mean, you scored 110 goals a year before you win GBL MVP. I'm not judging. I'm just throwing that out there. So that's 202 goals just in those two seasons, just adding those numbers up, right? We won't go into your freshman year numbers. They were great. I think you said 23 goals here, I mean, which is incredible too. So a humongous leap from your freshman to your sophomore year. Um, Talk about your game. You're a three-sport athlete. It's not like you just like live and breathe and die lacrosse. Like you're a hoop play, you run cross country. I mean, just talk about your game a little bit and maybe over the last couple years having, a new coach and just maybe seeing your game develop the way that it has so much.
Yeah, I definitely like whenever I'm not on the field, I do whatever I can to sort of expand my game, whether that's like running cross country or keeping my conditioning up in the winter with basketball. But I sort of just like try to connect like basketball and lacrosse and sort of like the similarities, like playing defense, like it's super similar. Like sometimes for lacrosse practice, like we like drop our six and take our goggles off and we just sort of like play defense without our six, and it's like the same the exact thing as basketball. Um, but I think I also play on a club team, and that definitely helps me a lot. I play that throughout the whole year, and just like seeing girls like and watching them what they do, like that definitely helps me. Like, oh, like I can use that the next game, or I should like start practicing that more. Just sort of like exposing myself to like better players and like seeing like what they're doing to help me like get better as a player too.
Great answer. Great answer there. I mean, coach, talk about having a player like this. I mean, 200 goals for you in 2 years. I mean, some teams don't even score 200 goals in a season. I mean, let's be honest. So what's it like having a weapon like that?
Well, I would come home and like after every game, I keep it in the book. Like after every game, I write Becky and her number. So we were on track and like it was just easy to know what the exact number was after every game. But I would come home and my family would be like, "How many goals did Becky score today?" I'm like, "Oh, we're at this number or we're at that number." But as a junior and still in high school to have 200, now 202, but to hit a 200 career goal like is crazy. When I played, no one was we were lucky if you hit the 50 or 100, and that was over all 4 years. Even like the boys team to hit 200 and you're not done yet is like it's crazy. And so obviously a lot of teams pick up on that and know, and the amount of coaches that we come across and they're like, cover 21, why is no one on here? And they start going crazy. But it's like it's fun to have like a player like that and a weapon like that because I mean everyone the other teams always know who to look out for on our team and they're always yelling out those numbers. So like it's a pat on the back to you, Becky, to be like, oh, they're talking about me. Like that's who they want covered. I mean, there are players on specific teams that you can get the ball to, and if the other team can stop them, then you're screwed. Becky does know how to get out of all of the stops by other teams or at least attempts from other teams. So it definitely helps and to pass the ball around the field. And so it's not just like she got it and ran. Like it's very much of a team effort. And Becky has those skills to help others that might not have the same skills as her.
I mean, that's so interesting to hear you say that because yeah, when I went to the Covered Your Guys Somerville game, I felt like every time she had the ball, I mean, they just know you as an opponent. They just like closed on her so quickly. I mean, I don't know lacrosse well, but I know when a defense just starts kind of like attack, it's like obvious watching any sport. And you guys had to find other ways to win that game. So it's interesting to hear you say that last part because that's what I took the most leaving that day. I remember John and I were kind of walking out of there, and I go, yeah, like Somerville took their best player out of the game and they still knew how to win and dominate the second half of that game, I thought, anyways. So I knew you had a pretty good team. And then obviously hearing what you had to say, yeah, it just seemed like a collective effort where you did such a great job on social media. It was great to see different players of the games and what people's stats were. I mean, I have a few former students on that team, so it's like fun to kind of see them posted on there as well. So, yeah, I think you did an outstanding job of keeping up on the social media front and so on. And then speaking of like social media and media in general, you guys got a huge spotlight. I mean, you guys got a few different spotlights this year, but talk about the accolades you guys that came with it. I think this is also to me that this stuff is so important. Whatever you can get people to showcase your program and show what's going on there, I think it's really special because I noticed a little trend of you guys. I wanted to jump into this with you later about when you won some games, it was like play where you live, play where you live, play where you live. And then I kind of think of the social media stuff and the program getting spotlighted, and like that is also like a play where you live, play where you live, look at who we are, look what we are. Like I think that stuff is like equally important into making people make those decisions not to leave and go elsewhere, but to stick in Medford. So I'll give you a moment to share that stuff because I think that's culture building, cool stuff that helps this program.
Yeah, I mean, I was at work and I got a text from a random number and he said, "Hey, this is Trevor from the Globe. Do you think your team is like worthwhile to write a story on?" And I was like,
Like, no.
I'm like,
Like,
so funny, someone's scamming me. Like I thought I was getting scammed. And I said to my
yeah.
coworkers, and I was like, this guy Trevor just texted me. So I ended up Googling him and I was like, oh, he's real. I was like, this is real. He talks about high school sports. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I mean, like, you get it. The day's crazy at work
Mhm.
and teaching and trying to like manage everything. And he's like, I need a 2 minute pitch right now. And I was like, oh, I'm teaching math right now. Like, I can't give you a 2 minute pitch.
Yeah, bro, my
So
schedule's way different than yours, man. Like, give
I
me
was
a
like, I
sec.
don't have time for a 2 minutes pitch right now.
Yeah.
So I ended up actually calling him on my way to practice. And he was like, all right, what's the deal? And I was like, all right. And I quickly spit it out. At that point, we were 7-0. And I was like, yeah, we're doing great. Like, and he's like, all right, great. I'll let you know if this goes through. And I was like, okay. Like, and then I was trying to text Bobby and Rachel and being like, do you know this is also happening? I just want to make sure, like, with pictures being out there and whatnot. So they were supposed to come to our game. We had a game against Somerville, and I wish it's there weren't enough refs, so they ended up canceling our game.
Oof.
But the Globe was like, we're still coming for practice. We need pictures. So I was like, all right, wear your uniforms. So they still came out. They took pictures of us, and it was just like seeing them up there with like their big bulky camera and everything. And I was like, this is real. And then when it got out, I mean, we had a game the day the article was posted, and I like stopped at 7-Eleven. I stopped at gas stations, anywhere I could before the bus. I was 2 minutes late to the bus because I had a stack of papers sitting on my driver's seat because I was like, no, everyone needs one of this. Like, it
Yeah.
was so cool to actually then like open the paper and see all of our names, our pictures. Like, you Google us now, like that comes up.
Right.
So I at first was like, oh my God, there's no way the Globe wants to write about us. And I honestly think they just saw it through social media. So I was like, this was like a good tool to use social media because it's not like it's really posted much where else unless because at that point like power rankings weren't out. There was nowhere else to really see it unless you were like on Arbiter looking at every single team in the state,
Right.
which like that's not what they're doing. And so that I being able to like see it and give everyone it, I was like, this is so cool. We're in the Globe. Like
I mean,
we're
yeah.
in the Boston Globe. Our pictures were in it. So that was so awesome. Like, and then they did another one at the end of the year. Got to know Medford did one on all the sports teams. But we were the only sports team that was in the Globe. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that is, and just kind of hearing everything you're saying. For the girls, Becky, what's that like for you? You know, obviously I'm sure you guys are a little bit more like, oh, run around, coaches going a little harder. You guys are going a little harder, like the cameras are there. But I mean, talk about that because you play a lot of different sports in this school, so that coverage, just doesn't always come knocking at your door all the time.
Yeah, I remember it might have been the practice like 2 days before, like when Bianca told us like this guy Trevor just reached out to me from the Globe, like they're coming to our game, and everyone was like, our game, like we gotta like win this now. And I remember at practice, like once our game got canceled, we were warming up, like that's the only talk, like just like, oh my God, like the camera's on us, like what are we gonna do? Just like trying to like look our best and play our best. But I think I'm starting to like get used to it just from like having you at like our basketball games and having like got to know Medford, like calling us. So it's like definitely like it's a privilege to have, and it's like awesome to see like out on social media too.
Yeah, I think that's what's so fun. I coach for a really long time, and that's like, God, that's how we recruited. I mean, we realistically, that's how from our workouts to like what we did, and you drew interest from kids from all these different cities and towns. And for you, like we mentioned before, keeping kids and so on, like this is the type of stuff that, um, you know, is sometimes a difference maker in keeping somebody versus not, in keeping stats of players and parents seeing that it's a program that has, achievements and goals and expectations and, like that stuff's cool. I mean, people want to be a part of that. Um, let's talk about the team a little bit. I mean, when I went to the first game, it's so funny covering boys and girls sports. They're so different in a lot of ways. Like girls are just like good energy, positive, listening to music, giggling and laughing. I mean, talk about the team's culture, and I'll let whoever wants to jump into that first go ahead. But I mean, a team that's successful, 18 wins, has a big turnaround, a lot of the same girls. I mean, it's kind of got to start there, right? I mean, as far as what the atmosphere and culture is like on a daily basis.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think that. Oh,
go,
you can
Becky.
go. You can go.
You know?
Okay, I'll go. A lot of us are really close, which is awesome. So it's at practice and like warming up before games, it's kind of hard to like stay focused. It's kind of like talking about like our days and like what happened over the weekend, just like, and it's like awesome to have like something to talk about. But like, there's like positive and negatives to being like that close, like just talking about stupid things and then like trying to focus like on warm ups during a game. But yeah, we had some great energy this year, and I think that definitely helped us in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there were definitely days where I was harder on them during practice, just being like, if we practice like this is exactly how we're going to play. And I think it does show for some teams. And like I would bring up all of our stats and like what all of our records that we broke and all the stuff that was happening. And I was like, we want to continue that. Like we don't want all these people to be writing articles on us and taking pictures of us and then for us to just flop in front of everyone. And so there were definitely days where like I mean game day practices I feel like was every practice basically this season. But there were definitely days where they knew also like all right, like we need our game faces on, all of our equipment, and we are ready to pretend that we're like gonna play a game right now.
Yeah, I mean, the most successful teams that I've been a part of as a player or as a coach has always been the team that's gotten along the best, you know. And I think that speaks volumes in success because when things go wrong, teams that aren't as close start pointing the finger versus teams that are close, you know, kind of can talk it out and get through what they need to get through a lot quicker. And that's just my observation as a coach for a long time. So I really buy into that, culture and atmosphere. And that kind of leads me into, one of your assistant coaches, Dom DeLuca, I know head basketball coach, your cousin. And I'm not, and this isn't like, I'm not saying making this make fun of him, but I'm sure girls lacrosse is not a sport he particularly knows well, but he brings a culture, an atmosphere, a vibe, from his basketball program that's very successful. Some of these girls I see on the roster, one present here that plays for him in basketball. So talk about kind of having a coach. Am I spot on with like kind of what he brings to the table as far as that guy? Or I think it's cool. I think it's a really cool assistant coaching move, into bringing somebody on that I know the girls really respect and look to as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard if you're basically not an educator. You really can't coach. These
Yeah.
hours only work for people that work in a school. Um, and I was stuck last year when it was my first year. It was quick turnaround from when I got hired to when the season was starting. And I was like, I need someone to help me. Like, I know I can't do this alone. And regardless, I can't because there's two teams. And he was like, I will help you. And it was really helpful to have someone that already coaches in Medford, knows the girls, and could bring that. Like, I wasn't a high school coach before. So it was very different dynamics of the girls I've coached previously. So going from younger kids to older kids, like you need to have great culture and be a little bit more stern with them. And there's more on the line for some of them. Um, and it was great to have someone that, again, knew, but like Becky said earlier, I relate lacrosse a lot to basketball. When we drop our sticks, the defense is the same. Like
Yeah.
you can't hit someone with your stick in lacrosse. It's not going to work. It's all in your feet. And so it's helpful. And like he'll be like, oh, wait, try this basketball drill, but we'll do it as lacrosse with sticks, balls. And
Yeah.
so it's helpful, especially for the basketball girls. They already know the drill, but to see like how it correlates, even though people be like, well, basketball's inside on a court, lacrosse is outside on a field, but most of the dynamics and like the fundamentals are the same at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. And a lot of high school sports is also attitude and focus and leadership. And, I thought that was great. Like I meant that like in a really complimentary way to him because Yeah, you can. I've had him on the podcast. We've covered his program. Like he's young, he's mature, he gets it. Like he's running camps. He's very proactive. Like, yeah, it reminds him like of like a younger version of myself when I was in the coaching game, and that's you hustle to make a name for yourself. And I think that was a great move on your part to have him as part of that. I mean, Becky, talk about that for you. I mean, that's a coach who was your coach during that season, and then all of a sudden, a few days later, he's now there. You hear that voice for another couple months. You're coached by him a lot of your year. How cool is that to kind of have two head coaches on staff in a sense?
Yeah, it was definitely a relief when I heard that we were going to have a coach that I was um, close with on the lacrosse coaching staff because when our coach left freshman year, I was sort of like, what's going to happen to this program? Like, who knows where it's going to go? And when I heard that he stepped up, and it was definitely like, I felt like it was going to go in the right direction because, like, even though he's a very big basketball dude, I knew that he was going to take this seriously and definitely did. But just like, it's great. But then after like lacrosse practice, he's like, "You're coming to open gym for basketball," and I'm like, "No, I just like ended lacrosse practice." And sometimes I feel like I can't get away from him, but there are positive and negatives to it.
Yeah. I mean, Becky, talk about coach here, and not to make either of you blush, because obviously you're complimentary of each other, but I mean, talk about coach, right? Because I look at coach. And I love that, like the year before this, it's, you guys were playing really important games at the end of the season. I think that that is a measuring stick, whether you make that jump into the playoffs and sneak in there or not. That's a great measuring stick of who you are at the end of a season. You're a team that's battling and scrapping and grinding. And I think that that is, because of your coach, right? And then you come into the season, her attitude and vibe when she kind of came on the podcast, covering you guys to kind of just like I feel like coach expects, like she expects the highest of you because she knows you're capable of that. Like that's the vibe I get. I mean, talk about coach a little bit in this shift, maybe in the last couple of years in this program with her.
Yeah, I mean, she's exactly what our team needs. Like, she's awesome. She's nothing more strict than past coaches, and like she'll like make us stay on our A game during like practices and games. Um, but like she, with her past experience of like playing high school lacrosse, like she brings a lot to the table. Is sort of like saying like, this is what I did like in high school. Like, why aren't we doing this? Like team bonding, this like helping us like bring this program like somewhere. Like my freshman year, it's definitely kind of slow, just sort of like it was just kind of like another year. But like when she came, like it started to get serious. Like yeah, like we're breaking records, like we're making history, and like she definitely like played a humongous role in that.
That's great. I mean, coach, that must feel, I mean, kind of cool to hear that, right? I mean, you got to know that what you've injected into this is a big result of who you are. I mean, maturity of coaching at a young age, traveling home from school. I mean, we talked about all that stuff. I mean, for you, how does it feel? I mean, obviously, we talked about all the great things. You guys won the GBL. In my eyes, you're coach of the year in GBL. I mean, we can joke about that in a second, but you are coach of the year in the GBL in my eyes. And yeah, it starts with you. I mean, how does that feel after a couple of years, young coach, not knowing what to expect, and here you are?
Yeah, I mean, I really, when Dom told me last year, he's like, oh, the girls lacrosse coach isn't coming back. And he was like, you should apply. And I was like, why? Like, why? I'm not. And I obviously did. And again, I didn't have high school experience. So I was like, they're out of left field. They're not going to be looking for someone that doesn't have high school experience. And I know I said it last time, but like, I'm so grateful that Bobby and Rachel took that leap of faith and was like, yep, we're going to give it to you. Um, but I mean, going from last year to this year, I mean, it was only my second year with the team. And I think it's just crazy to see everything that we've done. And like, again, like I said, I kind of relate a lot of it to like when I was in high school and I was like, you know what? When I was a senior, my favorite memory was my senior year. We broke the record for most amount of wins in a season. And I was like, we are on track to do that this year. I mean, now we have to beat 18 going forward. So we set the bar really high. Um, but like really, I was like, this is a huge accomplishment. And like again, it like came up on my Facebook actually a couple weeks ago as a memory of us winning it. And I was like, this is like what I still remember after all those years. And I feel like this season is something they're never going to forget, and I won't either. I mean, it's a lot, obviously, going from teaching all day to then on the field. I would be up making my list of everything I need to do. I would like try and start doing it on my lunch break at work or any free time I had. But like at the end of the day, it all pays off and it's so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, God, I hear you saying all that stuff. I mean, I think about my days of leaving the McGlynn and like legit changing in my car as I'm like driving, like because I got to get to practice. It starts 3 o'clock. They get out way earlier than I do. I got to get through Medford Square traffic to get to Arlington Catholic. Like, so for me, God, I hear that stuff and I just like laugh because I get it. Like, I get how easy it's not, and yeah, it's fun to hear. It's funny to hear you say that. Um, Becky, going back to you a little bit, I mean, so 202 goals we added up here in 2 years. Let's say you said 23 goals. That's like 225 goals maybe you have in your career. Is that correct?
No, it's 202 for my whole entire
Oh,
career.
sorry, 202 for your entire career. Okay.
Yeah.
So 300. I mean, 300 is extremely realistic. You scored 92 goals this year, 110 the year before. So you've done it. Is it a thought for you? How much thought have you kind of put into it? And yeah, just kind of hearing that a little bit. Just yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely a thought like throughout the season, like the back of my mind, just like, it'd be great to like get 100 goals, like another milestone. I remember like last year and this year, like I was getting really close, but we were kind of running out of games to do it. So I was like, oh my God, like, am I even going to get it like this year? So it's definitely always a thought in my mind. But I try not to let it like bother me as much, just sort of like playing my own game, just like see how it goes. But yeah, it's definitely a thought.
Very cool. I mean, there's got to be some sort of, we got to start hyping this up like September. We get back to school a little bit. We're all out of school now, but we got to start hyping this up. I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Thank
I
you.
mean, you got to have the most obviously in school history, GBL, I'm sure. I wonder where it compares to the state. I told you I'm gonna send a few text messages and see what I can gather, but it's got to be up there. I mean, God, I mean, that's 300 goals. You're averaging like what, 75 goals a year? I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, I can't see that there's been too many people in the state who've done something like that. So I would be interested to see where your numbers compare as far as that goes. I mean, you're a great player. I mean, for my younger listeners out here, talk about the recruiting. Are you obviously, I'm guessing you're interested in playing at the next level. I mean, talk about where you are in like a recruitment process or what you can tell me as far as maybe lacrosse goes so far.
Yeah, I'm very early in my process, but it's already getting really stressful. Like this summer is very jammed packed with lacrosse, which it's a privilege to have. But actually, last night I just got home from a, a showcase I was at for the past 2 days that I missed school for, and tomorrow morning I'm leaving at 6 a.m. to go drive down to Maryland for a tournament this weekend. So it's really go go go, especially in June. But I really just have like such a great like support system from like my parents, like being willing to do this for me. Just like having my coaches like support. But yeah, I hope to play in the collegiate level. That's definitely a goal of mine. And the summer kind of depends on that. So it's stressful, but it's awesome.
Now, are you someone who's like wants to be closer to home? Are you someone who's willing to kind of take off and go? Like, where are you at with that?
Yeah, I think when I was like earlier this year and last year, I definitely was kind of set on like staying in New England. And
Hmm.
I definitely want to like, I'm very close to my family, so it would be hard for me to like leave. But as much as I like love New England, it'd be nice to like get a change for 4 years. Like I love Boston so much that I'm most likely going to end up back here after college. So it'd be nice to get a change of scenery. So I would preferably stay close to home, but
Yeah.
I mean, wherever it takes me, I really don't mind.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Anything you want to take up at school? Anything that you know, or you kind of undecided a little bit still, or?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, you glitched for a
Oh,
second.
sorry, sorry.
No, it's okay. It might
Anything
have been
that
my Wi-Fi.
you're like interested in going to school for, or that you might want to take up, or you undecided, or?
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm very undecided at the point right now, but hopefully once I get back into school next year, I'll have some sort of idea of what I want to
Yeah, I mean, God, I'm 42 and I still don't know what I want to do, right? In a sense. So like so it's just there's no rush. It's like I
do.
always say that like it's even when you're talking to kind of go off on a little bit of a side tangent here, but like the whole transfer portal, like there's so many negative things about it, but some kids sometimes make a decision at 18 years old that they think is the right decision, and then after a year experiencing something, realize that maybe it was a wrong decision. So I do believe in it and being used the correct way, and that yeah, sometimes you go to play for a coach who makes you feel like you are the one, and then you get there and you realize, yeah, this is not what I signed up for, and
Mhm.
maybe I went to the wrong spot. So I think that that's always hard decision whether you're picking a school to play at, just like it would be if you're picking an occupation or thinking about what you want to be at a young age. You just don't know sometimes. So
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Um, Squad wise, a little bit. Obviously, we talked about culture, how great it was, so on and so forth. Anybody who's just like kind of brings a good vibe on the team, someone who's always happy, someone funny, someone in a good mood, cracking jokes. I mean, who's kind of that person that you rely on a little bit to maybe uplift everybody else?
Um, there are a lot of them. Our team is filled with very different personalities, which is great. I don't know. I think Sophia Ismail always puts a smile on my face, no matter what mood I'm in. So he's definitely up there for me.
And what do you think, Coach? Is there anybody that stands out to you?
Aaron Alves really likes to joke with me sometimes and, just pick up turf and try and throw it at us. I feel like Sienna also,
Yeah, Sienna's definitely up there too.
she she doesn't realize how funny she is. That's what makes it even funnier.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember, and like she played basketball, and I wasn't as close with her, and I like we even came to lacrosse season, she like just sort of like bloomed up, like just came out of nowhere. I was like, oh my God, like Sienna's awesome. Like I love her so much. But yeah, I would definitely agree. Sienna and Evan are also up there for me.
Yeah, I mean it's great. It's in those are important little roles, and we cover the baseball team this year. There was like a few goofballs on the bench that like John and I were always like snickering, laughing when they said stuff, and as the season went on, you saw that like become a little bit more infectious. And I'm not saying that's the only reason they were successful, but it's a part of it. Like it's such a part of it when you have people like that that can really kind of keep the mood and keep the vibe like honest and fun. Coach, you joked about it earlier, setting the bar of like 18 wins. It's tough to beat now, right? But there's also expectations. You come out the gate, you've built a strong program, taking a program and taking it kind of maybe to that next level. I mean, off season now for you, there's time to chill because you just got out of teaching too a little bit, but what's your off season look like as far as this goes and where you are in the process? Like, do you educate yourself at all in the off season, go to practices, go to clinics, do workshops online? I mean, how do you now kind of take this and what does your off season look like a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, definitely last year after my first season, I was like, I can't even look at anything lacrosse. Like, I
Yeah.
can't look at it. But I definitely like to share. I make like a document of camps for the girls, whether they're close or not close. I kind of like try and find different camps all over New England, different price points also. Um, I think continuing it throughout the year is great. There were definitely people that you can tell when they don't pick up a stick until March 10th, the week before tryouts, and decide that they're going to play again. We're also hosting a camp this summer for Medford youth to help grow that program. So we have 2 weeks of that this summer at the high school, and the varsity players will be helping out run that. I think, I mean, that's what I did in high school, and the younger girls look up. They don't want to listen to me. they want to listen to the high schoolers and getting that connection between both of those programs. Because at the end of the day, they don't really have a feeder program. Like there's not much coming up. And I think other towns are booming with their feeder systems. And so it's like now our turn to get more kids in and hopefully again stick to the play where you live and do all this stuff with Medford and just continue it at the high school with the program.
Yeah.
But I will definitely do more lacrosse this off season and
Yeah.
learn about.
Once you taste that success, like the other stuff just becomes more infectious because now you're like, I want to do this more. I want to do this more. I want to build this. Now this is our opportunity because when you're winning, that's like when everyone starts paying attention to your program. Just an idea, just because I heard you say it. When you do your youth programs, you should have the shirts says like in the back, like, play where you live. Like that should be like your guys like stamp when you stamp stuff. Like
Didn't
that's what you should have
start
on
that,
everything.
but that's my plan. I have our logo on the front and on the back, play where you live.
Yeah. I mean, that is such a interesting argument, great argument. I mean, I was somebody who went to school in Medford K to 8 and went to a different high school, you know. And yeah, you think about some of the sports I played, I'm like, God, if all of us stay there, that would be interesting, you know? And so I believe it more so now as a public school teacher. I think I realize there's not much of a difference in my opinion, in that education. So sports has become such an attractive point for facilities and uniforms and social media and to really kind of be that decision maker. So I think you're smart and you're on top of it, building a youth program and getting young kids just to show up and who have no experience but just to show up. I mean, I'm sure you see girls just from basketball alone that come over to never picked up a lacrosse stick but are athletic or tough or you can teach them to do something or coach them to do something. And I think that that's probably part of it, or a lot of part of it, that you have reliable pieces, right?
I never realized like how much of a not going to Medford High was a thing until last year. I mean, I grew up in Wakefield. I went to Wakefield my whole career. We didn't, not many people like went to other schools until last year when everyone was like, oh no, MC, AC, and like I didn't realize how much of like how many people actually went to private schools for high school. But I think the biggest thing that draws all these kids, it's not the academics, it's the sports.
Right. Yeah, and I think you see a lot of these schools. Like I look at Bill Ricker, like building their facilities and what their high school looks like and what their sports facility looks like. It's like, why would you want to go anywhere else and play when you see that? So I think you said like sports is a driving factor, and those little spider webs that come off of that are equally as important to keep that draw, to keep people playing. Now, Becky, I had your sister. Anna was an original Beyond All-Star. And I never really made the connection between you two till recently. Um, so two really good athletes in the family. You do cross country as well, and you also a hoopster. So you're a three-sport athlete. I mean, just as we talk about sports here, I mean, just talk about sports in general for you and how much of it's a guiding spot in your life. I mean, obviously your sister's had great success, and she's now collegiately running. And we were just talking recently about the difference between high school running and collegiate running, and and you and reading these numbers, and we still got a whole year to go with all that. I mean, just talk about sports and just how much it's maybe helped you in your life in general.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love staying busy and like staying active. I couldn't imagine going home after school at 2:18 every single day. And I think my sister is definitely like a very big person in my life because she just like inspires me so much and she pushes me every day, like whether it's like texting me or like FaceTiming me, just like telling me to like keep pushing through those like hard days. But yeah, just like sports is like it's taught me so much, just like dealing with people and like being a leader on a team, just sort of like seeing like helping like younger girls or like feel comfortable on the team. It's definitely like a learning point in like so many ways. And it's such like a privilege to like be a leader on all three like sports that I play, and it's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's fun when we cover athletes. We cover two brothers that play football at Shawsheen Tech, and they're both just like outright they play the same sports, but they're so different of their sports and how good they are at it and what they're good at. And so it's just interesting to kind of connect the dots and see athletic families, smart kids, good kids. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
funny. Um, my last question to you guys is more of Bianca, I've asked this to you before, so maybe I'll ask you differently after I ask Becky first here. But I mean, Becky, what's your advice to young high school athletes out there? I mean, obviously you're somebody who contributed in sports at a young age and probably multiple programs. You've had great success. You mentioned not going home after school would be weird to you. Like you're active, you're involved, you're a part of what you do. What would be your advice to young kids entering high school, or maybe these freshmen in high school, as they're entering their off seasons for their teams and could realistically contribute and help out at a very young age?
Get involved. I think that's like the biggest like point I can make. Like I'm vice president of my class and just like playing like three sports, like it's just like sort of like building a name for yourself, just sort of like getting that like recognition around the school. Like it helps you like get through those like hard days. And I think just like it teaches you like so many life lessons. And like it also like helps you like get closer to other people and like learn new people, make new friends. And it sort of like gives you like a reason to like wake up every single day and like go to school.
Great. Great answers. You give great answers. I'm like almost like don't even know what to follow up with after because I'm just like, gosh, still a lot of good things there. Um, Coach, I'll ask this to you a little differently because you're more at the end of the seasons of all the sports. People talk about the GBL and they have certain things about it, but I have not seen as many GBL titles this year across sports in different seasons that I've seen in Medford, at least since I've been paying attention to it anyways. Um, for you, talk about coming in year two as a coach, having high expectations, achieving goals, having a season to build on, bringing back a lot of those successful pieces. I mean, talk about your advice to coaches out there. I mean, there was probably a sense of pressure that you wanted to win a GBL title too. These girls have been a part of maybe that in other sports and you want to kind of continue carrying that torch. I mean, talk about doing that at a young age and really turning a program around.
Yeah, I mean, this year I felt like that was the norm with all the sports. Like when I was in high school, like winning a league title is a huge accomplishment. And
Yeah.
I think all of the stuff that was going on this year, I think we were just like, oh yeah, like another thing we did, checking the box. But like actually looking at all of the stuff that we did and all the records that we broke and writing it all down and like physically seeing it was like what really got me. Because I was like, oh, and I would have my coworkers and be like, "Oh, I saw your post. Like, that's crazy. You guys are still winning all these games." And I was like, "Yeah, it's just another day." And they're like, "No, no, no. This is not normal." Like, and I think as coaches, like, obviously I put pressure on myself, whatever. And any job that you do, you put pressure on yourself. And I think to me, I was like, "Nope, like it is what it is." And they're like, "No, no, you need to actually look at everything you guys have been doing." And I think if you're willing to do it, it will all fall into place. I mean, I would come home after teaching all day, then going to practice, and then being like, all right, what am I eating for dinner? Trying to do all of mix of teaching and lacrosse stuff every night. And I always had a list of to-dos and I would call them like my admin tasks. I'd be like, what admin tasks do I need to do tonight? But it all worked out because I put in all of that effort. And I feel like if you don't, it's not going to. And before the season started, I was like, I'm gonna get on social media. And I mean, that's helps a lot. And I mean, social media is such a huge platform now. I mean, especially for the high schoolers and to use for recruiting and to use for anything
Mhm.
and having like fun posts and not just like a boring picture every time. The amount of times I had to search on like blue and white final score posts and like trying to edit all the colors and then it's like not working on my phone. I tried on my computer. But I think just like if you want it, you can make it work, but it's all on you and what your motivation is like.
Yeah, I love it because yeah, you mentioned it. It's almost like manifesting things in a lot of way. Like, and I felt like you kind of sort of did that, like from having you on before. It was just like Yeah, we're expecting to be good. Yeah, I'm expecting a good season. Yeah, I'm expecting a GBL title. I mean, I can say this now, but we were talking early in the season and you were already kind of looking ahead to that stuff, being like, I know, like, and I was like, damn, like, I was like impressed and at the same time, just like, yeah, rooting for you. Like, I was like, okay, because to me, yeah, we talked about this on the podcast before, but that's what stands out about Bobby the most, I think, as he's stepping down, as athletic director and retiring, is that he takes chances on coaches and specifically young coaches. I mean, when you look at a lot of the success of the programs across the schools, I mean, it's a lot of young coaches that are leading these programs. A lot of young coaches. When I say young, younger than 30, I mean, some other programs younger than 40. To me, that's young. And to be able to lead these programs consistently or to bring these programs from maybe not it even being a thought to it now being an expectation. God, that's impressive. I mean, you should be impressed when your friends say it's not normal. Yeah, it kind of isn't normal. Like, and I know you're like super humble about that, and I get that, and like I totally respect it. But yeah, make sure you hear that. For a long time, I never like accolades that I got, I never talk about them, like never. And then as I started doing this, I'm like, why not? Like, you work so hard to get there. You work so hard to do that. Some people might whatever have feelings and thoughts, but like you ain't asking those people opinions about your life. So like why would you care what they think if you're putting something, you know what I mean? So I just yeah, people love the story of getting there, but people don't love hearing the story of how you got there, right? And I think that yeah, you should be a little proud of yourself. Just saying that out loud so you can hear that. But yeah. Um, well, listen, I appreciate you guys coming on here today, episode 190. I was thrilled. From what I even saw that first game, I knew, man, this is the toughest team they played, and they probably left a few goals on the field that day that they could have had, right? So I knew there was something brewing there, and it was fun watching you on social media. So you did an excellent job of keeping definitely our eyes on it for sure. As you guys were just running through teams at some point. So we appreciate you coming on. This won't be the last we talk to you guys in your program. And yeah, we're super excited to see where this all kind of leads to and goes next.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
for
having
having
us.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, episode 190, we got technically 9 episodes left because episode 200, it's going to be a live episode. We are going to be in studio. We'll give more details on that, but we can hold about 50 or 60 people, so we're really excited. So it's going to be like a first come first serve type thing, and so we'll give you more info on it as we get closer to that. So I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis, Becky Casey, Bianca Pascantilli. Till next time. Oh, there's a stop button. There we go.